This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.
The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, you're encouraged to like and share them on Facebook. It's time for Joanne's World of Nutrition, brought to you by Nutrition World in the historic Arcade Building, US 1 between Orange Avenue and Avenue A, directly across from City Hall in Fort Pierce. And now, here's your host, Joanne Augusto.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. I hope everyone's having a fantastic week and morning, and I'm very grateful for all my listeners. Thank you for tuning in. Today we have a very, very special guest, second time here. I'm so thrilled to have him back on. Today is with Dave Barton. He is the National Educator for Dr. Marcela's Premium Products. I listened to one of his lectures recently, and then he came on the show, and he is just a wealth of information. He lives it, he preaches it, and he is great at researching it, so he definitely knows what he's talking about. And boy, everyone knows I love Dr. Marcela, so definitely tune in. But before we introduce him officially, we definitely need to tell everyone that Dr. Ravi will be back on next Thursday talking about hormone therapy, a very confusing topic to most, and he definitely is well schooled in this topic, so definitely tune in next Thursday with Dr. Ravi and I, and we're going to be going over hormones and how to kind of reboot that system. And also at the store, we do have all the new Dr. Marcela products that we're going to be discussing today. So if you're in a time crunch, you need to run there. Jen has the booklets and the products. And today only, for the sake of the radio show guests, we are having an extra 10% off on all Dr. Marcela products today. So you'll get your everyday 10 plus the extra 10. So without further ado, good morning, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Oh, really, really good. I'm so glad we had another chance to be on the radio together. So how you been? Everything good in your life?
Yeah, actually, I just got back from an extensive trip to New Hampshire, in New York, and North Carolina all at once. So I'm glad to be home.
Nice, but you got those cool nights, right? Or you can enjoy the weather.
Yeah, well, and we're still got a little bit of heat here in Florida, so it is nice to travel and get a little bit of coolness.
Yeah, definitely. Did you get to catch any fall leaves, or is it too early for that?
No, it was still a little bit early. I saw a couple of trees, but nothing really major is happening yet.
All right. Well, next year you have to plan that area a little later. So New Hampshire. Gosh, you got to catch the fall leaves there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know, Jennifer, I don't know if you remember, but she's from New Hampshire, my employee, and oh my gosh, it's I know that she misses that time of year, seeing all those fall leaves, so beautiful.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and so I know you've been keeping up, training the country on how awesome all Dr. Marcela's premium products are, and so we today are thrilled to have you on, and I'm kind of going to be really casual about this conversation, Dave, because we have all the Dr. Marcela products, and I know our main coverage is going to be about the new fermented line, but I know and you know that enzymes are, your love and passion, so I would love to dive into those a little bit, Dr. Marcela's enzymes, and just gut health. Do you think we can accomplish all of that in 55 minutes?
Sure.
All right, we'll just talk fast. Okay. Well,
right.
Yeah, you were just in the eastern part of the states. They talk real fast there. Yeah, we'll do it. All right, cool. Well, coincidentally, as I was on my way here, a good friend, a neighbor for a long time, texted me, Joanne, can you please ship me Dr. Marcela's fermented mushroom complex, which I have to admit is my favorite out of all the products. So I was kind of hoping we could just start with that one after you kind of tell us why Dr. Marcela even went into this area, why fermented, why the products he chose, and a little history behind the making of this line.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Mercola brand went into, Dr. Mercola really became big with fermentation 3 or 4 years ago. Before it actually even came out into retail, he was starting to develop products. And it was really the basis of fermented foods and how powerful they are for the human body, especially digestion. And typically, if I'm running a class, we talk about fermented foods being more digestible, more nutritious, and potentially having a greater, almost like a medicinal impact on the body when it comes to supplementation. So if there was one thing you can take away from fermented foods, generally speaking, is literally try to eat more fermented foods because they're always going to be better for you. And since our program today has a lot to do with digestion, that might be one of the easiest places to start, and it'll lead right into the mushrooms.
Right, and I mean, sometimes, we're challenged to buy foods that are fermented, so it's great, at least if you can get your supplementation fermented and know that your gut doesn't have to deal with breaking down one more thing. I mean, how awesome is that?
That's really the key. The easier you make it on your digestive tract, either by the food choices you make, such as fermented foods, or as you touched on in your introduction today, talking a little bit about enzymes, anything you can do to make digestion easier is just always going to make you feel better. You typically feel more energetic, and most importantly, you're getting more out of the foods you're eating, and that's the best benefit you can have.
Definitely, like they say, it's not what you eat; it's what you absorb. So
there you go.
Definitely love that. All right, so then we know, and for anyone that's new to Dr. Mercola's world, welcome, and you're going to love it. Dr. Mercola is a social media icon as far as doctors go, and he has, I think, maybe thousands of podcasts, YouTube videos. I mean, you can listen for 30 seconds to really cool cutting-edge info, or you can listen for an hour and 57 minutes to really in-depth research videos. So no matter how much time you have to invest in research and education for yourself and your body, Dr. Mercola is a great ethical, integrity-filled place to start. So, and Dave, I'm so glad you're part of his team now. All right, so we know why fermented's better. So why did he choose the ones he chose? And like for instance, fermented mushrooms. Like I've always sold mushrooms, knowing how awesome they were. Was so basically immune system, is that the main goal for that one?
That really is, and that's a great choice. In fact, there are a lot of different superfoods that are the focus of these fermentation processes. So garlic, broccoli, ginger, ginseng, and mushrooms, all of these could really be classified into superfood type categories. And one of the easiest things to identify about mushrooms, and I wouldn't say mushrooms are even my best topic to even talk about, but quite frankly is they're complex in that we use 7 different mushrooms in there, and the intention is to support your immune system. Now, one of the main identifying points about mushrooms is a component that when you eat mushrooms, basically you're trying to get what are known as beta-glucans from those mushrooms. And beta-glucans support your immune system. They can help you to make natural killer cells, or generally speaking, macrophages, which basically eat up all the bad guys. They are the main defensive mechanisms of an active immune system. And 2, mushrooms serve as a prebiotic, which is sometimes that's a little bit of an understatement, but quite frankly, if you think about your gut and your digestive tract, as a lot of sources feel that 80% of your immune system is in your gut.
That's huge.
I know, isn't it? Now you're feeding it with prebiotics, so you're supporting your living organisms in there, as well as harnessing aspects of your immune system, generally speaking, like the macrophages, so on and so forth. You're covering 80% of that just with mushrooms alone. So eating more mushrooms or getting more access to valuable supplementation can be a real huge benefit to some individuals. Now, I will say this. I didn't know this until I talked to the manufacturer of our fermented mushroom complex. But he said, ideally, even if you only use small amounts or low dosing of mushroom complex, try to use it preemptively. You want to be regular in using it preemptively before you're not feeling well. It's very difficult for the mushrooms to help you to come back necessarily, at least from his viewpoint, to come back from being sick if you're already sick. So start using them right away and, potentially supporting that immune system to reduce the tendency, generally speaking.
Yeah, my fiance and I have been watching tons of documentaries and research about the immune system as well as other areas, and it seems like prevention is the key. And even though to me it's such a common sense, simple, topic, it's like prevention. But it seems like not many people think through prevention. It's always like, wait till something happens, then try to fix it. And, just like cancer cells, they're starting when you're a child, like 15 years, and then quadrupling. So, if you can swallow a couple fermented mushroom pills a day and get your gut health back, get your immune system vamping up before anything goes wrong, why would you not want to do that? I know. It baffles me. It really does baffle me. But yes, okay, so that could be a whole nother 10-hour show about why we don't work with
really
prevention.
You're making me think of so many thoughts. I mean, just generally speaking, if you think about our culture today, so much of it is, just use it up until it goes bad and buy a new one. And I think we take our bodies for granted as if, well, I'm just going to wait till I feel bad and then, take, whatever and feel better. But, better food choices, more exercise. Think about your environment and what you're breathing and what you're drinking. Those are all preventive mechanisms that could reduce the chance of many of these things happening. Of course, there's no cure-all for any of these things. Even the healthiest of individuals can still get sick. But, why not give yourself the best opportunity of having the best health possible for as long as possible?
Right. I would rather look back. So if something does go wrong, I can say, at least I did my best to try to stay as healthy and my best version of myself as long as possible, than say, oh, maybe,
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
All right. Well, now besides fermented mushroom, everyone's talking about why black garlic. So we get asked numerous times, what's the difference between fermented black garlic and just plain old, white aged garlic or garlic in general?
I'm so glad you asked. When I first started training with the Marcela brand, I was looking at these foods and thinking to myself, I already eat garlic and beets and turmeric and broccoli and ginger and mushrooms. Why in the world do I have to have a fermented supplement? And this is really that transition mode that when something is fermented, it makes it much more powerful in a sense than it was in its so-called raw state. And garlic is a great example of that. For instance, when we eat garlic, just generally speaking, there's a great potent nutrient in there known as allicin. Alicin, I think is the way it's spelled. This allicin is a peptide which is very good at detoxification for basically your liver and your immune system. And it's really one of the main components that makes garlic just the superfood that it is. But the limitation is allicin only lasts about 20 or maybe 30 minutes in the body. It has a very, very short half-life. So how in the world then do people use garlic as a superfood if it's being used up so fast? Well, generally speaking, they eat garlic all day long. And everybody knows they eat garlic all day long, right? They feel fantastic. They say they never get sick, and they're feeling good about it. But unfortunately, the smell on the breath, the hair, the skin, it's all coming out. And this is one of the great aspects about fermentation. Fermentation takes that garlic, and when you ferment it, it's very difficult to ferment, by the way, but when it's fermented, it becomes this black garlic. The allicin changes to S-allylcysteine or SAC, S-allylcysteine. Now, this is twice as potent as the normal allicin that you would get from so-called raw garlic, and it doesn't last minutes. It lasts hours in the body without giving you the added breath or the garlic smell on the skin or hair. So you get this highly potent substance from garlic that you would not be able to get on your own, just eating it raw, or you'd have to eat it all day long. and that creates other symptomology. So black garlic gives you advantages that normal digestive processes just wouldn't.
Yeah, and strangely enough, some people underestimate garlic in general. It's just for everyone knows. I mean, I don't know if you remember this, Dave, but I think it was 10 years ago, they surveyed all the top holistic practitioners I don't know if the world or the country, I think it was the world, and said if you could only choose one thing to take, what would it be? And every one of them chose garlic. Like if
Wow.
they only had one thing that they could bring, say on a deserted island, they all chose garlic. But now the downside was always, like you said, if I juiced with it, oh my God, all day long I would taste it on my breath, or
Yep.
like, gosh forbid, you sweat out that disgusting odor. And so now to get the advantage of the amazing power of it to last longer without all that disgusting odor. Well, okay, not
That's the same with
disgusting when I'm
me.
sautéing it with olive oil. That smells yummy, but not off your
Right.
skin.
It's so good going down, but I am so sensitive to garlic. My wife has such a sensitive nose. She smells any of it on me. But when I use
That's
the
it.
fermented
You're in the
garlic
guest
supplement,
bedroom.
yeah, I know. The supplement does not do that to me. She never knows when I'm taking the supplement, and it's amazing like that you're getting that concentration without the side effect.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's like, nature provides us all the tools we need to heal our body. We just have to use them. We just have to go out and, like you said, if anyone's listening and they've had, heartburn or issues with garlic, do the fermented. When you ferment these superfoods, like Dave is saying, your gut loves them. It actually helps them. It's that pre-probiotic that's going to make that gut health flourish. So awesome. Any other comments about the garlic before we move on to the next one?
One of the reps I happen to be working with in New Hampshire, he actually cooks with it. As you just stated, it's so potent and concentrated. He just opens the capsules and uses that liquid concentrate in some of his Italian dishes, and he loves it.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to try that. So like he sprinkles it on like a recipe, or?
Well, it's a liquid. It's in a liquid state. So yeah, you open that capsule and you can put it in anything that you really want to have that garlic, potency.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Okay, well, I'm definitely going to try that at home, see how that works out. All right, that's a great tip. All right, cool. So we've been talking about Dr. Mercola's Premium Products for anyone just tuning in with Dave Barton, his national educator, super smart guy. And we have talked about the fermented mushroom complex. We've talked about the raw fermented black garlic. And so they're just calling it black garlic because when you ferment it, it turns black? That's
correct.
Where the terminology came from? Okay.
Exactly. There's you're really not going to find black garlic in the grocery store because it's going bad. So they can't sell it. There's no shelf life. So this is something that you would only really find in nature, and in having it mass produced in supplementation. It's one of the rare places that it's actually usable. So it would be very, very rare for you to ever get black garlic in any of its normal state by itself.
Yeah, normally once I see black, it's in the trash. So.
You got it.
All right. Well, how about you want to touch on the apple cider vinegar next? Another, big seller.
It really is. And we do this, obviously apple cider vinegar is a fermented substance. So we do it in delicious liquid form. If you haven't had our apple cider vinegar, especially the habanero is my favorite. Even if you don't like spicy stuff, give that habanero a try. It's a little bit of a fiesta on your tongue for about 30 seconds or so, but then it washes right down. It doesn't make you cry or anything like that. It really has a phenomenal flavor. But the reason why everybody should be giving apple cider vinegar a chance is it just has an impact on blood glucose or insulin sensitivity. And quite frankly, one of the easiest or one of the simplest, things to remember about nutrition that you always want to be is try to be as insulin sensitive as possible your entire life. You do not want to be insulin resistant. And unfortunately, most Americans are insulin resistant. And that basically means your body is losing its ability to communicate well with insulin. The body is storing sugar as fat versus burning it as energy or protecting muscle tissue. So the more insulin sensitive you become, the easier it is to burn fats, protect muscle, and basically be a healthier individual. So it starts with food. Eat more foods that have, less empty sugars in them, more fiber, right? Eat healthy proteins, eat healthy fats. And there are certain foods like apple cider vinegar or other fermented foods that help insulin sensitivity. So you can use that like as 1 or 2 tablespoons, or we also make it in capsules. But I will say, if you do choose to use apple cider vinegar as a tonic, so to speak, 1 or 2 tablespoons, always dilute it. It's very, very potent. You don't want to hurt your teeth. It's acidic. You don't want to hurt your throat or your stomach. Always dilute it and, enjoy the experience, and just, 1 or 2 tablespoons before bed affect those insulin profiles.
And I tell people all the time that kind of look at me baffled when I talk about the insulin and the sensitivity and the resistance. And I'm like, you can tell when it shifts. When it goes from being resistant to sensitive, your whole body changes. I mean, your energy levels change. It feels like you don't have that big poofiness below your chest line. I don't know, Dave, is it just me? I feel like literally the whole body chemistry changes when you start processing your carbohydrates and sugar properly. It's like you get a surge of wellness.
Well, and that's really probably the truth, especially if someone has been insulin resistant and now they're shifting gears. It's easier to be leaner. It's easier to gain muscle. It's easier to have more energy, less inflammatory.
And stable moods, too. You get much better moods. I definitely not as like that roller coaster mood swings that usually the sugars create.
Exactly right.
All right, great.
And,
and plus, like you said, if the pills are so convenient, I have so many customers for years that liquid was their only option. And even though I would tell them dilute it way down so you just get the essence of it, it still would bother some people. So now a convenient, awesome pill, perfect. So.
Exactly. And one of the other benefits about the pill, too, is we have a cayenne pepper in there, which is very thermogenic. So you're swallowing it. You're not going to feel the heat on your tongue. You don't have to worry about, the cayenne pepper. But the thermogenic aspect of cayenne is stimulating metabolism. So now you're increasing sort of the metabolism rate of the body to a degree. You're becoming more insulin sensitive. So whatever sugars that might be available are going to be much easier to burn and literally getting that done whether you've eaten food or not. So.
All right, that's awesome. Convenient, totally safe, no side effects. I love all this stuff. All right, so...
And it's a food.
Right, it's a food, yep. Well, that's what I love about Dr. Mercola. He really pushes, food first, making that the major part of the puzzle, and then the exercise, and then the meditation, and just like really incorporating all facets of wellness with every conversation he has. It seems like he really gets in that same message over and over and over again, So it's really incredible what he pushes. All right, so we have one more product to cover before break. So would you like to choose? There's so many. I don't know which one to do next.
What do you think your local area, what do you think they're most interested in?
Well, I know the most confusion is about chlorella. Why chlorella, and how do you ferment chlorella, and why would you even take it? And what is chlorella?
Okay. Yeah, that is a good one. Chlorella is sourced from an algae, and quite frankly, this is something again that a human being would not normally eat by themselves. In fact, chlorella is impossible for a human being to digest even. So even if you ate it in its raw state, which you probably get very sick if you did eat it in its raw state, you're not going to get much benefit out of it because it has this cellulose basically component to its cell structure, and the human body does not make cellulase. So this chlorella would basically just go in and out of you and you would get no benefit to it. Well, what a lot of manufacturers do to chlorella is they will process it in a way to sort of, they call it breaking that shell or cracking that shell to give you its nutritional components and its its potential benefit for the human body. Unfortunately, that cracking can be brought about by heat or pressure, and that may very well damage the chlorella. And this is where, again, fermentation can come into play. So fermentation is using bacteria that do make the right enzymes to partially digest the chlorella and thus making it more digestible for a human being. Now a human can process it, but why in the world do you want it, as you mentioned? Well, chlorella seems to be utilized for heavy metal issues, so it's a binding agent. It provides proteins that seem to bind to different types of toxins like metals potentially. So it's usually recommended to people that live or work in a polluted environment. I always think of the guys that do lawn maintenance with like pesticides or different chemicals, fertilizers that they might use on a daily basis, or maybe road workers. They're working around the asphalt and polluted, lots of lead coming out of exhaust pipes all day. So if you live or work in a polluted environment, chlorella might be a great benefit to you. And one other benefit, you'll notice how green it is. Tons of B vitamins. B vitamins are phenomenal for your brain, your emotions, your calmness. If you're having trouble sleeping or anxiety issues, B vitamins, generally speaking, are fantastic for you. So this could potentially also be a great source of B vitamins if you're not using our B complex formula already as a benefit, to your health.
Definitely, and I have to mention, Dr. Mercola has an amazing podcast about mercury fillings and the mercury amalgams. And in case anyone is not aware of this, there is legitimate research and information out there besides Dr. Mercola talking about how the mercury affects not only your body, but the environment, the impact, even after we're gone and buried, and that mercury going into the ground. So definitely look into that and look into alternatives. But the chlorella can definitely help. Here you have in your mouth all this toxic metal. You want to take the chlorella to offset some of the damage that it's doing, besides all the horrible things Dave just mentioned that's out there and sometimes not in our control. So always try to control what you can, and then use the supplementation to offset the outside toxins. All right, Dave. Go ahead, sweetie. Go ahead.
Oh, I was thinking the same way that you were. We can't take everything as a supplement. You got to try and pick and choose your battles. But you have lots of options, and no doubt we'll be able to help you in some way.
Definitely. Well, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll go into a little more fermentation products and then into gut health. I can't wait. All right, one more minute.
You're listening to Joanne's World of Nutrition, and we'll be right back with more in just a moment.
Guiding the Treasure Coast in health, one person at a time. That's their motto at Joanne's Nutrition World, Suite 121, in the historic Arcade Building on US 1, downtown Fort Pierce. Joanne brings more than 25 years of experience in the natural health industry, right here to you. Take advantage of this free personal guide to wellness and good health. Meet with Joanne herself and get started. Nutrition World always provides you with the hottest new product lines, natural and homeopathic remedies, herbals, and best of all, expert advice from the people who care. Call Joanne at 464-3598, 464-3598, and learn the correlation between diet and great health. Stop in today. The expert guidance to health is always free at Nutrition World. Nutrition World, Suite 121 in the Arcade Building, US 1, downtown Fort Pierce.
Weekdays kick off at 6 a.m. with Mr. G and Paul Stone on the WPSL Morning Show. At 9:05 for almost 70 years, the Swap Shop hits the airwaves of the Treasure Coast. Mondays at 10, Coffee at the Cabana from Jensen Dunes. Monday at 11 is the Retirement Income Program from Peak Capital Management. On weekdays at noon, it's Rush Limbaugh. At 3, Tom Sullivan. Then the 5 o'clock news from WPTV News Channel 5. Tuesdays at 10, Money Info from Princeton Research. At 11, the Treasure Coast Car Guys from Treasure Coast Lexus and Treasure Coast Toyota. Wednesdays at 10, listen to Bone Bone Talk from Florida orthopedic specialists. Then at 11, it's the Team Martech Radio Hour. Thursdays at 10, Joanne's World of Nutrition from Nutrition World. At 11, Dr. Stuart Shipe's Holistic Health Hour. Fridays at 10, Ask a Lawyer with Stuart M. Address, followed by Ask a Rabbi with Rabbi Shafir Loeb from Congregation Eitz Chaim. At 6 p.m. weekdays, Bone Talk on Mondays. Tuesdays, Coach's Corner, focusing on high school sports. Wednesdays, the African American scene with Rudy Howard. Thursdays, IRSC Startup Talk with Tom Kindred. And Friday, we feature live high school sports. That's your weekday lineup here on WPSL 1590, the talk of the Treasure Coast. And now, back to Joanne's World of Nutrition, brought to you by Nutrition World and hosted by Joanne Augusto.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for listening this morning. We have Dave Barton with us, a national educator for Dr. Marcela's Premium Products. We are discussing his new fermented product line. Well, some of them are new and some of them have been around for a little bit, but we love them at the store, so we are giving our listeners an extra 10% off for any of Dr. Marcela's products. So whether it's the fermented line or not, doesn't matter. You'll get your everyday 10 plus an extra 10% off. We are fully stocked. And it's funny, Dave, the only thing I am out of is the spicy apple cider vinegar. I have the blueberry and the sweet in stock, but I just placed an order for more spicy. People really like the spicy one. So
yeah, I'm telling you, it's so good.
yeah. Well, I'm not really big on spicy, but when Ronnie gave me a sample of it, I really liked it. It didn't seem like it was spicy where I couldn't handle it. It went down real nice. So
yeah, a lot of individuals are intimidated by the term habanero, but they have it just right. It's a little bit of fun, and but the flavor is just so good.
All right, what a great way to start the day and wake up the system. All right, so I want to definitely dedicate a good 20 minutes to the gut health. So I'm thinking, how about we talk about fermented beets now? It's another one of my favorites. Well, I love all of Dr. Marcela's fermented line, but beets are definitely another hot topic item. And, I know that my favorite thing to preach about is about sugar and what happens during fermentation. Can you be sure to cover that aspect?
Yeah, absolutely. And beets are a great example of that, too, because individuals typically eat beets for the benefit of nitrates, for cardiovascular health, or maybe for exercise support, too. They basically want more circulation through the body, and the nitrates help to open up those blood vessels and increase that circulation. And typically, the better circulation is, the better you feel, quite frankly. But unfortunately, nitrates, again, have a very short half-life, similar to that garlic issue. In 20 minutes or so, those nitrates are used up in the body. So if you really want that circulation to last, unfortunately, you have to be eating them regularly. Or if you know you're going to exercise, you take those beets or eat those beets just before you go exercise, and you're ready to go for the next 20 minutes or half hour. Now, here's the thing. Beets have a lot of sugar. And whether we call it organic beets or not, or organic sugar,
it's
sugar
still
is
sugar.
You got it. Exactly right. And unfortunately, if most of our Americans, even ones potentially going to the gym, are becoming insulin resistant, you've got to burn through all those extra calories of that beet juice that was so organic and so delicious and so nutritious, but it had 500 or 600 calories in it. You got to burn through all that before you can even start to get to any of the issues of fat on the body. Well, fermentation. Simply put, fermentation is eating up the sugar. So when you eat our fermented beets, you get the nitrates for the increased circulation, but no calories. And generally speaking, that's what can happen with a lot of fermentation is fermentation of different foods not only break down the cellulose bonds, making the foods more digestible and, quite frankly, more nutritious, and that's for another reason, but they eat up a lot of sugar, too. So you're not spiking your insulin as much, even with very delicious vegetables like potentially carrots or beets or so on and so forth.
It's like you get all the benefits without the negative. And you just mentioned a key word that I believe there's tons of confusion about. So when you say the word nitrates, I know what you're speaking of, and I know it's a positive, but there's a little confusion that people are thinking we're talking about that carcinogenic nitrates. Would you be able to touch on that for the listeners?
Oh gosh, I've never heard of that. So
Well, yeah.
I had
So
never heard that confusion before. Okay.
well, yeah, a lot of the customers are like, wait a sec, I thought we're not supposed to be eating nitrates. Isn't that the stuff that's in the cold cuts and, the stuff we need to
Oh,
avoid? And just to be clear, what you're speaking of has nothing to do with the chemical nitrate that's used to preserve meat. That's very dangerous and carcinogenic.
I got it. You're absolutely right. There is a huge difference in there too. That your body makes nitrates already for your blood vessels and for your circulation. So if you eat meat, generally speaking, even not necessarily like you said the prepackaged stuff, but a steak or a chicken, you're getting amino acids that create these nitrates in the body. So the nitrates that we're talking about definitely are the ones that help your circulation and are not meant to preserve meat or preserve your body either in a sense.
Yeah, chemicalized stuff. Yeah, definitely not. All right, yeah, because I know that if you ever notice like the cold cut packaging will say like nitrate free some of them, so that's when that's where I assume customers got the verbiage to ask me. That's what I assumed, but just wanted to clear it up in case some of my listeners are thinking that. So.
That's a good point. I'll do some research on that, so I'll be a little more prepared for the next time and see the chemical differences.
That's okay. You're not supposed to know everything. It's all good.
All right. Thank you.
And I definitely have to give Dr. McCall another shout out. He does have that 3-minute nitric oxide workout that I preach all day long, every day, that we do in our family. It's 3 minutes, 3 times a day. Anyone can do it. So if you just go on to any search engine on the computer, type in Dr. McCullough 3-minute workout. Even if you have to start with sitting down and then work your way up to standing up, it will get that blood flow going. You take his fermented beets and then you do that exercise and definitely help that heart get some nice, rich, warm, healthy blood. So I just had to throw that in. That's my favorite workout.
I'm glad you did. People ask me about it all the time, and we were at Baltimore a couple of weeks ago, and right in the booth at the convention, some of the girls started doing the workout right there for 3 minutes
so
while the show was
awesome.
going on. Yeah.
It's awesome. Well, I saw this thing on Facebook yesterday where I think it was Russia, that you could get a free train ticket if you did 30 squats. So you went in front of like this video camera and you would do 30 squats and then the free train ticket would come out of the slot. I was like, that is super cool. I'm like, because we're all just sitting and just getting us to move. It's hard. I need like some kind of electrical belt to remind me to move. Yeah. It's like, move or else I'm going to electrify you. All right, so let's see, Dave. Any more fermented things we definitely want to touch on before we talk about enzymes or gut health?
One that I do bring up because I like it is turmeric.
Oh, gosh, of course, turmeric.
A lot of people seek out turmeric for its anti-inflammatory benefits, and it has that because of a constituent known as curcumin. Now, in the supplement industry, you can buy curcumin by itself. The difficulty with both turmeric and curcumin is both are large molecules, and they can be very, very difficult to absorb, generally speaking. So this is a great little point on how to choose whether we should be using turmeric or whether we might choose curcumin, so to speak. Well, our fermented turmeric, obviously becoming more digestible, more nutritious, and having the greater potential reduction in inflammation or supporting healthy inflammation is probably what we should describe it as, supporting healthy inflammation. Now, it's not well absorbed. Well, if it's not well absorbed, why in the world would we use it? The benefit is it stays in the digestive tract. So beginning to end, even into the large intestine. So if we're dealing with inflammatory distress of digestion or the small intestine or large intestine, maybe you're thinking upset stomach or leaky gut or something in the large intestine, something itis in the large intestine, then you really want that fermented turmeric, because it's going to stay and it's going to go all the way through that system and support all of those areas. And again, that's 80% of your immune system. Fermented turmeric is potentially benefiting. Now, if it's external, something on your skin, a cut, a bruise, an abrasion, you fell, you were injured, you were in a car accident, then you want to go with the curcumin. Curcumin typically is processed or manufactured so it's more absorbable to the bloodstream and affecting physical injury of the body. So if it's external, curcumin. If it's internal in the gut, stay with the turmeric.
Okay, that's a perfect example. And, gut health, that's why I definitely wanted to cover that for a few minutes, because there are many close people in my life that are suffering daily with something, esophagus down, where they're in pain or discomfort, or just kind of like, holding their bellies all day long, hoping they're not even going to run to the bathroom, or they can't go to the bathroom. And it's really hard, because I feel like I have to give them a whole new lifestyle, really like change everything to really get them on the correct digestive system. But can you tell me how some of Dr. Mercola's products, even if we have to repeat some of the fermented ones, can be part of a daily regimen to put their gut health back in order?
Oh, absolutely. One of the first things you can do, the easiest thing you can do, is when you first wake up in the morning. I know all of your listeners have those protein shaker cups.
Oh, I have mine next to me right now, Dave. And I know a tip you're about to say, and we've been doing it ever since your lecture, so love it.
For 4 years now, almost 5 years, I've been doing this. Take that shaker cup, fill it with fresh water. You don't have to make it cold, and you got to drink it. You got to pound it. Don't sip it. Don't tell me you drink water all day long. I want you to pound that water. And what's going to happen, that water is going to work its way through your gut. You're not going to be able to absorb it, but it's going to literally help you to move those bowels and get the waste out and the junk out and what's causing that distress. And the more often you do that, the cleaner that system is going to become. That doesn't cost you anything. And you're going to hydrate. And when you hydrate the body, you have more energy. Basically, the biology is your cells become more mechanical. It's easier for them to work the more hydrated they are. So drink that 500 milliliters of water, that shaker cup, first thing in the morning. Don't stop. You got to pound it. Then
it's a little harder than how you're describing it. It's challenging, right?
It takes some practice,
time.
For sure. Yeah.
I was like gasping the first time I was trying. I was like, oh my gosh, this is harder than oil pulling. But
I've learned to breathe through my nose while I'm drinking it down. So
you have to. You almost have to go into a meditative state to really get it all down.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely doing better. Definitely doing better. And Dave, there might be some listeners that are like, oh, come on, that's too simple. It's water. But remember, guys, our body is like 72% water, just like the earth. No coincidence. Just like we need to wash our floors, wash our cars. Water, it's cleansing, it's rejuvenating, it's nourishing. Our plants can't grow. Everything dies without it. So take water seriously. And Dave's idea is phenomenal. And I really, again, just pound. And the concept is more ounces than what, so it passes right through, right? That's the reason you're saying so high of a volume.
Exactly right. If you're sipping it, you're going to absorb that through the stomach lining. And then once it gets to the blood, an excess amount of hydration in the blood, you're just going to pee it away. You want the water to stay in the bowels and literally flush that system from the inside out. And that's going to take an excess. Now, you don't have to worry about overdoing it or hurting yourself, because that 500 milliliters it's completely safe. Anybody can do that. Though it might take a little practice to keep swallowing.
Right, exactly.
That much.
But again, I'd be thrilled if just our listeners just started drinking water first thing when they woke up either way. So many people, it's right to coffee. And I've been guilty of that. Like before, I have to remind myself, like this morning, okay, drink water first. Drink water first.
Yes.
It's because coffee, just that smell alone is like, oh. Yeah,
I know,
it's
right?
Awesome. It's so addicting. It's so addicting.
But coffee's going to dehydrate a little bit. So hydrate first with the water, and then you're going to actually feel like you just drank a cup of coffee. You're going to be totally energized. You're going to feel vibrant. You're going to feel awake. It works the first time. There's no placebo.
Right. That's so awesome. All right. So we get the water down, Pat. What's next?
If we're going to eat, try to eat something fermented. If you're going to, your kombucha, a good healthy yogurt, some type of kimchi or sauerkraut. It takes training. Our culture doesn't teach us to eat fermented foods. Our kids don't know what a fermented food even is. Train yourself to like something that's fermented, and add vinegar to every meal. So, these aren't even necessarily supplements. I know we're not making any money yet off you, but this is all about just eating better, make better choices. So drink your water, eat fermented foods, and now you have fermented supplements. If we can't eat that way, or we want something that's even simpler, then you've got plenty of those fermented supplements. I think the garlic is phenomenal. The turmeric is probably my absolute favorite because you're going to reduce inflammation, and everybody wants to do that. If you could only choose one, I don't think you can go wrong with fermented turmeric if you want that supplement that's going to work for you.
Okay, and you mentioned too that the fermented mushrooms are pre-probiotic, so if the turmeric takes away the fire and inflammatory, the over-inflammation that's going on in the intestines, and then you put the fermented mushrooms in there to get that pre-probiotic culture going, so it welcomes good bacteria. I mean, that sounds like a win-win. And what about permeability, like as far as, are any of them more specialized in helping, like especially like leaky gut or the permeability? Would any of those specialize in that?
I haven't studied that per se. My first instinct, again, would be the turmeric, because leaky gut is going to be semi-inflammatory, and sometimes the little villi, they look like little carpet fibers, are swollen or inflamed, and that's part of what's causing the leaky gut. There's these gaps being created. So reduce inflammation on that gut, generally speaking, and turmeric helps to do that from the inside out. The apple cider vinegar with the cayenne can potentially help with some of that too. And then, of course, your better food choices and hydration are going to help with some of that also. And it's, and quite frankly, our next topic, I think, is enzymes.
Yes.
Enzymes are going to take so much stress off of the digestive tract because they are breaking down whatever you choose to eat, good or bad. They're going to break it down to its simplest components. So even if you were dealing with inflammation of the gut, you're going to get the most benefit out of those foods with the least distress on the body.
Okay, so I'm going to give you the 3 most common questions I get about enzymes. Okay, so the first one would be, why do I need an enzyme? The second one would be, will I become dependent on them? And the third one would be, do I take them with everything I eat? So if you can address those 3 questions, that would be great.
Okay, so why we can really benefit from an enzyme? Do we need an enzyme? Well, everybody's going to eat. So at some point, you are going to make enzymes for the breakdown of that food. The great thing about a supplemental enzyme is they support that process. And why would you want that? Because as we get older, we literally make fewer digestive enzymes. That is proven over and over again for almost 100 years now. Sometimes, too, our genetics limit our ability to make certain enzymes, which can lead to food intolerances like dairy intolerance or even potentially gluten intolerance. So taking an enzyme can help a person digest foods that they might not be able to digest very well, or just generally speaking, you're breaking your foods down more efficiently, and that's the best thing you can do for your digestion. You want to make it as efficient and speedy as possible so you get those nutrients. Now, can you become addicted to enzymes or become dependent upon enzymes? The short answer is no, but why? The reason is known as the law of adaptive secretion of digestive enzymes. And I know that's a lot to remember.
I was going to say, that's a mouthful.
Yeah. It is a law. And basically what that law means is your body always adapts to your needs. So, for instance, if you eat more proteins than fats, your body tries to make more proteolytic enzymes than it does lipases. It changes the output. If you eat more carbohydrates than proteins, your body will try to make more amylases or carbohydrates to meet that overall demand. So your body's always trying to adapt within the limitation of your age or your genetics. So there's always limits. When you use a digestive enzyme, you're not dependent upon that enzyme so much as you adapt to the work that's been done. So your body will make fewer enzymes when you take that digestive enzyme. And that's great. You want to make fewer enzymes because you want the body to be more efficient at digestion. You don't want to waste your energy. When you stop using that digestive enzyme, your body's going to make more digestive enzymes, but again, limited to your physical capability. If you're 96 years old versus being 26 years old, your ability to adapt is much more limited. So there is no dependence on the digestive enzyme, but you just feel better when you're using it because digestion is easier on that body.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
Your last question was?
When do I take it? How often?
Think of an enzyme like a pair of scissors. We use scissors to cut paper up into smaller pieces. Well, the scissors actually have to touch the paper to cut it up. An enzyme is like scissors in that it has to touch the food to be able to cut it up into smaller molecules. So you take that enzyme right at the beginning of the meal, and unfortunately, you can't store the enzyme. So the enzyme you take at breakfast can't wait for lunch or dinner later on. It's moving down that digestive tract. So if you can only take an enzyme once or twice a day, take it at your largest meals or the meals that are going to be the most difficult for you to digest, generally speaking. And for most people, that's probably actually dinner because it's late in the day. They've already used up a lot of digestive enzymes during the day, so they'll get the most support at dinner. But if you can use it every single meal, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's what I try to do. And when I slack off of that routine, I definitely feel the difference. It definitely
and take it right at
helps.
the beginning of the meal. You want it to touch those foods as much as possible.
Right, and I know with the Dr. Mercola, he put so much thought into the enzyme line. So this is not just one supplement. You guys made the gallbladder formula, the specialized ones for the females. Could you address why the different ones? We have about 2 minutes left.
Sure. The anchor products are known as full-spectrum enzymes and full-spectrum enzymes for women. And frankly, the enzymes don't work differently between men and women, but men and women eat differently. So the full-spectrum enzymes, basically the blue packaging, is for about 1,000-calorie meal, 40 grams of protein, 40 grams of fat, and about 125 grams of carbs. But the women's version is less protein breakdown, less fat breakdown, but more carbohydrate breakdown, which seems to be the U.S. standard, so to speak, or the way that people eat, generally speaking, in America. So the enzymes don't work differently, but eating patterns are different, so you can choose which anchor product that you want. The other formulas, as you had mentioned, are for the intolerance issues or limitations. So if you've got dairy issues, you can add the dairy enzyme. If you've got gluten issues, you could add the gluten enzyme. If you don't have a gallbladder, you can add the gallbladder formula. Or if you're ketogenic, if you eat a high-fat diet, then you can add the ketozyme because Dr. McCullough loves ketogenic.
Oh, yeah, 70% of your diet should be fat, according to him, so good fats.
Add that ketozyme.
Yeah. Oh, Dave, we have run out of time. Thank you so much. I always feel very blessed to have you on the show. Have an awesome week and holidays, and hopefully I'll catch you in the new year.
That'll be awesome. Take
All
care.
right. Thanks, Dave. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone, and please tune in next week with Dr. Ravi and about hormone reboot.
Joanne's World of Nutrition archives can be found on WPSLTV.com on YouTube. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast, celebrating 25 years and counting.